Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, the Real Joe Quinn, recording this on a Thursday. Happy to be back with you after a mini summer vacation, summer hiatus, sabbatical, whatever you want to call it. It's great to be back here as we get ready for the football season. College football kicking off this week. NFL, of course, 2 weeks from today. Kansas City will host the Baltimore Ravens in a rematch of the AFC Championship. And just, this is a great time to be a sports fan. One of the best times of the sporting of the calendar year in regards to sports. But guess what? It's not what's going to lead this program. This summer, I have spent the majority of my time, really for the first time in my life ever, zeroed in on politics. From the time Joe Biden was pushed out of the race on July 21st up until this point, is to me has been all about who is going to be the next president of the United States, who is going to be the 47th president of the United States. Of course, right now you have the Democratic National Convention going on. Tonight, of course, is the last night. As we, once you Kamala Harris, let me get that right. Kamala Harris will have her speech later on this evening. By the time you hear this podcast, that speech will certainly have already taken place. So keep that in mind. As I'm recording this, the speech has not taken place. I'm recording this about roughly 3 hours, maybe 3 to 4 hours before she has her speech. I don't know what the exact time of her speech. It's about 7 o'clock now. So maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. They're going to try to stretch it out. Maybe 11 o'clock, she will have her speech, which will be the most important speech of her political career by far, and a speech that could catapult her into the White House. Right now, obviously, she has all the momentum in the world. This has been an incredible turnaround, considering where Democrats were on July 21st, which, again, I'm not going to go all into it because, I'm not going to relitigate what transpired with Joe Biden, but just absolute disgrace in regards to how the Democrats were looking, and just that whole basically a coup, a coup of pushing Joe Biden out of not out of the White House, but out of this race, and not even wanting Kamala Harris to be the nominee, but the momentum, of course, that she had following that. In particular, that weekend on that Sunday and Monday was just too much. She was going to be the nominee. They had no choice but to make her the nominee, and she has a legit chance right now. As it stands right now, she's leading the overall national. She's leading in the polls overall in terms of the national race, and is up in multiple battleground states. So she has completely flipped this race. And right now, she's the favorite. I mean, she's a slight favorite. She's not a clear favorite. But right now, as I speak here on August 22nd, 2024, she is the favorite to be in the White House. And I'm not going to go as far as to say it's her race to lose. I'm not going to go that far. But if I'm betting right now, if I had to put money on it right now, I would put money on her being the 47th president of the United States. But again, this is a game-changing speech. This is a speech that will define her political career moving forward. That's how big it is. You can't this is almost for all the marbles here. And again, if the speech is not good, that's not going to cause her not to win the race. But not to win the election, but the momentum that the Democrats have right now, the momentum that she has right now, the wave that she's on, and it's not going the wave that she's on. If she knocks this speech out the park, I'd be hard pressed to see Donald Trump recovering. Because the bottom line is he does not know how to deal with her. He doesn't know how to campaign against her. He was not anticipating campaigning against her. He was anticipating campaigning against Joe Biden. He wasn't. And he has no idea. He's lost. He's completely lost. It's kind of like watching a coach not be able to adjust in a playoff series or counter adjust. So this has been incredible to watch. It has dominated my summer in regards to what I've been watching. Other than that, and between that and The Wire, my seemingly probably my 10th rewatch or 15th rewatch of The Wire. Those are the things I've been probably watching the most over the course of this summer. As far as the Democratic National Convention, to me, the story has been the shift in terms of where politics should be going for Democrats. I'm talking about Jasmine Crockett, Raphael Warnock, AOC, Jamie Harrison, Hakeem Jeffries. You have Jasmine Crockett at 43, AOC's 34, will be 35 in October. Jamie Harrison's 48, Raphael Warnock 55, Hakeem Jeffries is 54. This is an opportunity for the Democrats to completely change the course of the direction of where they should go, and it's time to go. It is time to turn it over to the younger generation. Period. Point blank. It's time to turn it over to the Gen Z, the Gen X's, the Gen Z's, the Gen X's, the Millennials, and the Gen Z's. It's just that simple. That's all due respect to the likes of a Jim Clyburn. That's all due respect to the great Maxine Waters. That's all due respect to some of these legendary political names that we've seen over the course of history in the Democratic Party. You know, the Clintons, Obamas, and what have you. But a new day is here. A new day is here. There's no question about it. Night one, regardless of what happens tonight with Kamala's speech, night one to me will be the defining night of this convention. Because night one, you had Jasmine Crockett, Warnock, and AOC giving just virtuoso speeches, just speeches that we'll be talking about for the next 10 years. That's how good those speeches were. Those speeches were that great. And, Kamala will be hard pressed to top those speeches, to be honest with you. So I think that, to me, when I look back at this convention, when I look back at this moment, it is about the youth of the Democratic Party. And the thing that stands out to me is just how there's so much talent in the Democratic Party. I mean, you're talking. Listen, I mentioned those names, but Shapiro. You're talking about Shapiro. There's so much. I mean, the Democratic Party is loaded with great personnel across the board. Whether it's congressmen, senators, governors, all across the board, they're loaded with talent. So there's no excuse moving forward why the Democrats should not dominate the next 30 years worth of elections, especially at the presidential. AOC can be a presidential candidate someday. We know Shapiro can be a presidential candidate someday. Jasmine Crockett could be a Speaker of the House someday, possibly. And I haven't even mentioned the likes of Wes Moore and what have you. So to me, there's a change that's happening in politics right now. This is a seminal moment in the political sphere. And again, tonight, Kamala Harris has a chance to stamp herself completely as the prohibitive favorite to be the next president of the United States. So I'm gonna tell you, and the thing before I move on, if you are someone who's Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Z, especially Gen Zs and millennials, there's no excuse at this point not to go out there and vote. Don't tell me there are no candidates. There are a plethora of quality candidates moving forward. There's no excuse. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. If Kamala wins, trust me, the likes of AOC's, the Jasmine Crockett's, the Raphael Warnocks, she has a dream team worth of people to choose from to litter her cabinet with. She's a Buttigieg, excuse me. She has a plethora of people to choose from to surround herself that will almost guarantee her success. So it's not like that. I mean, again, the importance of this election cannot be underscored. It really can't be. This is a defining election for this country. You can't. I normally don't tell people who to vote for. I'm not going to tell anybody who to vote for. But listen, if you it's democracy versus dictatorship. It's just that simple. There's no in between with this. There's no in between with this. So this is one of these elections. There's no sitting out on the couch. You're in or you're out. You can't be out on this election. You just can't. That's all it is. So you cannot be out on this election. It's that important. So I think as of right now, if you made me have to pick someone between Kamala and Trump as far as who's going to win, I would slightly lean towards Kamala. Of course, she might have to win by more than 7 million votes, considering that Trump, basically controls the courts, and you don't want this to go to you don't want a situation like you had in 2000, where this is decided by the Supreme Court, because the Republicans have basically had that on lock. And again, Trump loses this election, we can kiss MAGA goodbye, to be honest with you. So this is just a defining election for our country, and even for the world, for that matter. Trust me, people all over the world are watching this election. Will be watching this election come November. Before we get to the football preview, been a very interesting summer, to say the least, for one, Deion Sanders. Now, Deion is fortunate that there's been so much going on in the sports world as well as just the political world that he's kind of gotten somewhat overshadowed. Like, you had the Olympics, you had what's going on in politics, you had obviously football at start, NFL, people talk about training camps and holdouts and things of that nature, Aaron Rodgers and what have you. So there are a lot of things that kind of could take your attention off what's going on with Colorado. The bottom line is none of it is good. Deion, to me, in less than 2 years, has become a caricature of himself. You have coaches leaving left and right. He lost another coach recently, this past week, Trevor Riley. He only has 2 full staffers remaining from his coaching staff in 2023. He's been attacking the media, even though he apologized. He apologized to CBS, not like last week or something like that, but still, press conference he had a couple weeks ago was just a disgrace. Coming at the media, coming at ex-players all over Twitter. How he's conducted himself has been nothing, again, to me, nothing short of just embarrassing and unnecessary for someone who, prides himself on Christianity, who prides himself on being this upfront and this upstanding, type person and citizen. Deion, to me, this is not going to work out with Deion if he continues down this path. You cannot win a battle versus the media. He's not going to win that. And we've been talking again. Deion is fortunate. That Athlon article came out at the beginning of August about what's been going on with allegedly going on in Colorado with the gun culture, the gambling, the turmoil, the toxic type culture that's been transpiring within that locker room, and some of the stories. Now, Athlon wrote that after that article was written by Athlon Sports. Luckily for Colorado, Athlon is not Sports Illustrated, or it'll be a bigger deal. Now, again, do not discount Athlon. Athlon used to be one of my go-tos when you're looking at college football previews and what have you. It's been around since 1967. This is not this is not a garbage publication. This is not a publication that doesn't have credibility. It does. So that article should have been absolutely taken seriously. Point blank. So Deion, again, you look at Deion's career as a player, right? Deion had a lot going on. Again, never got in trouble off the field. Let me make that clear. We never got in trouble off the field. He was not an enigma. He wasn't somebody that a cancer in the locker room, anything like that. Deion was flamboyant. Deion was, the ultimate showman, and again, one of the most talented football players in the history of the sport, not just defensively, but just in general. That's why that's what made Deion. You wanted to forget about the money, forget about Deion's style, how he dressed, the cars, and all this other shit. What made Deion Sanders special was his talent and the fact that he got the most out of his talent. Period. Deion got the most out of his talent. He was an all-time great football player. Fast forward to Deion, the coach, right? Deion Sanders, the coach. That version of Deion has yet to prove himself as a coach at this level. And that version of Deion Sanders, he's doing all the marketing, doing he has a bunch of shit going on, making a ton of money, doing the documentaries and all that. That's fine. All that's fine. All the shit, all the bravado, all that shit means nothing if you don't win at a high level. It means nothing. The reason why Deion Sanders is because, again, he is one of the greatest football players of all time. He produced at a high level. If Deion Sanders didn't produce at the level he produced, he'd just be it'd be another player, another athlete. We wouldn't be talking about right now. So forget about all that shit. Forget about all the stuff. All that shit doesn't mean, all the shit of the attention seeking, things of that nature. It's cool. We watch it. We like, you love athletes. Muhammad Ali was one of the biggest shit talkers of all time. You know what? You know what made Muhammad Ali? He was a beast in the ring. That's what made the talk. That's why we paid attention to the talking, because he backed it up at a high level. He was an all-time great, one of the greatest boxers of all time. So this version of Deion right now as a coach, the direction that last year they started out 3-0, lost 8 of their last 9 games, finished like 4-12. They weren't expected to, they weren't expected to win a lot of games. He's taken over a program that was in just miserable shape before he got there. But even beyond the record, is you look at a program, you look at what direction is the program going in. So last year, look at the last 2 recruiting classes that Deion has had. 24, they were ranked 95th. In 25, they were ranked 82nd. So you're not getting high-level recruits. So, okay, cool. Recruiting is a big part of it, but if you can develop players at a high level, that can kind of negate some of the that can kind of negate where some of the rankings as far as your recruiting if it's not that high. There's not been a lot of player development because there's been too much turnover amongst players. Players who are leaving left and right after this year, either willingly, either voluntarily, or being pushed away. I heard one of the players that left Colorado said, and this really stood out, said that he didn't feel like this was a place where they emphasized player development. You rarely hear players talk like that. Players normally talk like, "Hey, not getting enough playing time," or whatever, personal issue with the coach, and you hear a number of a litany of excuses. You rarely hear a player come out and say they just it's a lack. This program, I don't feel like I can develop at this program. That doesn't, you don't hear that kind of talk that often. And that stood out. That stood out to me when I heard that from that particular player. And I believe this was the player that was going back and forth with that kind of him and Deion Sanders were going back and forth with on Twitter. Dude, that might have been the same player, but regardless, they've lost. There's been turnover abound in that program amongst the coaches and the players. That's not good. Like, that's not how you built a championship to count. That's not how you built a consistent program. That's not how you built a winner in college football. And I think I honestly believe that Deion's, as of right now, I think Deion's ego has gotten in the way. I think the attention covers Sports Illustrated. You know, he's again on Prime Video with Amazon Prime with the documentaries that they're doing, or season 2 of it. I think it's gotten. I really think this has gotten to Deion, and to where he thinks, and he is. He's big. He's bigger than the program. So to me, if you are trying to create something special, right, as a coach, you can't be bigger than the program. You have to create something that becomes bigger than you. Like, as great as Nick Saban was, he developed Alabama football that became bigger than him. As great as coach as he was, the program has to be bigger than you. It just does. And when the program becomes bigger than you, then you create a tradition that lasts beyond you. Dean Smith did it at North Carolina. That's why they won. You were able to get Roy Williams, and they were able to continue to win championships. Okay. All the great coaches, left legacies to where you were the program or the franchise, was in the type of shape that to where you can where they can carry on and be successful in the future, especially in college football. Then they might not have the same success to the level, but they're leaving a legacy behind to where the program can move forward and to where the program can be successful. I think Deion is not about that, right? Deion, to me, what I'm seeing out of Deion is being about Deion. Like, he doesn't care if 10 years from now Colorado's a championship type program without him. Right now, it's about him, about his sons. It's about the attention. It's about everything except building a program with foundation from the bottom. There are no shortcuts. You can't do it through the transfer portal. And I think that Deion, if Deion keeps going this way, he's going to learn the hard way. And it's going to be a long tenure. It's going to be a short tenure and a lot of losing if the mentality, if the mindset doesn't change. To be honest with you. Again, some of the stuff that I've read, some of the stuff that you've been hearing, that is not how you go about building championship caliber programs. And I thought, but we've seen situations in college football, in the NFL, where there's been some dysfunction and there's been some off the field shit, and the team still wins. Like, you think about those years. I think about the Miami Hurricanes of the 80s, early 90s, and the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s, right? Common denominator was, of course, Jimmy Johnson. Those programs, listen, the Miami of the 80s, all types of stuff was going on within that program. But they had so much talent. They had great coaching that they won in spite of that. Recruiting classes and what have you. Same with the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys of the 90s, they could do books upon books of some of the shit that was going on off the field with the cocaine and with just the women and just the nightlife of those guys, some of the shit that was going on off the field with those guys. But again, you had Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith. You had all-time great talents, Larry Allen, the late Larry Allen, and what have you. And they won regardless. They won regardless of that, in spite of that, because you had a Jimmy Johnson who was able to, build the program, a franchise from the ground up. Credit to Jerry Jones for hiring him, getting rid of Tom Landry, and they were successful. They had that type of talent and they had a foundation that they built. Colorado doesn't have that type of talent. They have a couple of individuals that will go pro, but they don't have that type of talent, and no foundation has been built from the ground up. They just don't. So they're not, those programs, Miami and Dallas, were able to overwhelm you with their talent. In today's age of college football, 2024, you're not overwhelming. There are too many great teams. The talent is too spread out. You're not going to, and again, it's Colorado. You're not talking about being in the state of California, a recruiting base, or Texas or Florida, that nature, Ohio, Michigan, those types of recruiting bases. You're talking about Colorado. So the room for error is minuscule. Like, there are no shortcuts you can take. And again, Deion has to put the program before he puts himself. Right now, he's putting himself ahead of the program. He's putting himself ahead of the program. There was a story that he basically forced his players to go to a Lil Wayne concert because Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback, was his debut in terms of rapping. His debut that was mandatory. Like, that's the type of shit that just that's ridiculous. So this is because my son is rapping, you gotta go to this concert to support him. Okay, like that's not camaraderie. That's not building. Yeah, no, you're making my son. You're making it about my son. You're making it about me. That's not how you win. That's not winning. That's not how you're gonna win a lot of football games doing with shit like that. That doesn't, that is a toxic culture. That's not building camaraderie within a locker room, to say the least. So again, Colorado is the betting line for them as far as game over and under is around 5 to 6 games. People are 5 to 6 games. We'll see what happens. Again, I have to see it to believe it, because right now I don't see it with the program. Deion's been way too touchy with the media. Just some of the shit that he said in that press conference was just unnecessary. Almost, he's being accused of deflecting. What is being said is that he's taking this tact with the media because he's trying to take pressure off what's actually happening within the confines of that program and put it on him. So he's trying to do a deflection. So look at me, don't look at what's actually happening within this locker room and within this program. So we'll see what happens with him with Colorado this season. We must watch. I'll watch the games for sure, but it's going to take more than just being, cover Sports Illustrated. It's going to take more than just, new uniforms and all that shit in order for them to go to the next level and actually become a successful, consistent program year in and year out. The deep dive, we're going to look at the AFC. AFC absolutely is a loaded conference. You talk about, especially at the top, last year, of course, had the best division in football in the AFC North, with all those teams being over 500. You have the best quarterback in the game. You have the majority of top quarterbacks in the country. When you look at when you're ranking the top quarterbacks, about the majority of them are coming from the AFC. The team to beat, without question. I mean, look at the top 10 Super Bowl best bets. You have the Chiefs, the Ravens, Texans, Bills, Bengals, and Jets are 6 there. So AFC has 6 of the top 10 Super Bowls best bets. I'm not as high on the Jets as everybody else is. I'm not, and I'll explain that later. But looking at the Chiefs absolutely are the team to beat. in the conference, in the league for that matter. To me, they have the best player in the sport. They improved the receiving core. They have a top 5 offensive line. We know what their defense was last year. I don't expect a major drop off from them defensively this year. Again, after last year, they had one of the great Super Bowl wins of all time, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of where they were at early in the season and what they lost, and like how their offense played over the course of the season. I did not expect them to win the Super Bowl last year, not by any stretch of imagination. But again, I will never, as long as they have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid, they will always have a chance. It's just that simple. And this year, their offense is going to be better. Even if the defense slips back a notch, their offense will be better this year. And again, the AFC goes to Kansas City. It's just that simple. Their biggest challenger to me is not Baltimore, but Cincinnati. Keep this in mind. Cincinnati was the last team. Kansas City has won 7 straight playoff games. The last team to beat them in the playoffs was Cincinnati in Kansas City in the 2021 AFC Championship. Kansas City, Cincinnati, again, has the quarterback that can go into, they have a quarterback that is not afraid to look Mahomes in the eye. They have a defense that has given Mahomes some problems at times. They are a fearless team. And remember, last year, Cincinnati, despite the fact that Joe Burrow only played like 10 games, they still almost made the playoffs. They are a balanced football team. Now, they have to, of course, get the offensive line in order because, Burrow, they have to keep Burrow upright. We understand that. They keep him upright. Burrow will be absolutely, without question, an MVP candidate. That team knows how to win football games. They absolutely know how to win. They've been to a Super Bowl, almost won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. You remember against the Rams, easily could have won that game. And they have one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Joe Burrow, when healthy, is a legit MVP candidate. If he's healthy, he's one of the best in the league, without question. A great kicker. And again, trust me, there was nobody that was more happier. There was nobody that was more relieved that Cincinnati was not in the playoffs other than Kansas City. Kansas City was the happiest team in the AFC that Cincinnati was not in the playoffs. Because Cincinnati has zero fear of Kansas City, none whatsoever. So to me, they are the biggest challenger to the Kansas City Chiefs, not Baltimore. And, I think Baltimore will have a fine season. I think Baltimore will be a playoff team. But I don't, as far as you're telling me who can beat Kansas City, which team has the best chance of beating Kansas City, regardless of where the game is at, especially in Kansas City, I would have to say Cincinnati. Baltimore had an excellent. Listen, Baltimore might not get a better chance than what they had last year. They had the game, a Kansas City team that was not a strong Kansas City team in comparison to some of the teams that we've seen. Probably the weakest of the Kansas City teams as far as talent wise. They had them at home and still couldn't get the job done. So that might have been their best chance that they have for the next couple of years. Now, again, listen, a lot of that depends on the development, of course, of Lamar Jackson if he keeps growing and improving as a quarterback. But they blew an enormous opportunity last year with a home game in a conference championship. The window's not closed. They still have an excellent coach, excellent organization, top quarterback in Lamar Jackson. But that was a golden opportunity that they blew last season. The Jets, I have no faith in the Jets. The Jets are overhyped. The Jets are not a championship contender. The Aaron Rodgers drama, just not showing up, missing a mini camp that's not again. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, those kind of like Peyton Manning, those quarterbacks, you never heard those type of stories from those quarterbacks of missing that mini camps. You never heard that from those guys. Even like a Drew Brees, you never heard that. Those guys never missed it. It just didn't happen. Aaron Rodgers, it's all, I mentioned earlier in the podcast about it being all about Deion Sanders. Well, Aaron Rodgers is a prima donna as well. It's all about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers just, has gotten to this place in his career where he is just he's just addicted to attention. He's talking shit on Pat McAfee's show, making comments about addressing alleged rumors about his sexuality. Like I have never heard rumors that Aaron Rodgers was gay. And even if there were rumors, why are you addressing it? What does that have to do with the football season? What are we talking about here? Again, he wants to be a celebrity. Like he's almost more concerned about being a celebrity than he is about being a championship quarterback, about trying to win that Super Bowl. He's gotten to his place in his career where again he is. You talk about diva, and you talk about a me guy as far as just the attention seeking. It's toxic. It's absolutely toxic, and frankly, Green Bay. He did Green Bay a favor. Like he did Green Bay an absolute favor. How that shit ended, and then they ended up with Jordan Love, who has a chance to be a franchise quarterback. So I don't like that. Again, I know the Jets have an excellent defense. They have excellent weapons at the wide receiver. They have the pieces are there. If Aaron Rodgers plays great, they could contend. But again, I don't trust it. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers at this stage in his career. I just don't think he's all in. I don't think he's all in on football right now. I don't think he's all in on winning a championship. I don't. I think there are just too many things that he is worried about outside of taking that team to a Super Bowl. Again, he wants to be a celebrity, which is problematic if you are a New York Jets fan. Two teams I would focus on that probably are not going to be talked about a lot as Super Bowl contenders: Cleveland and the LA Chargers. Now, Cleveland, those two teams have some of the best talent in the league. Cleveland has, there's a publication, Warren Sharp does an excellent job in terms of breaking down the teams and units and what have you. Warren Sharp has Cleveland as the number one front seven in football. They have a top offensive line. They have excellent coaching. Last year they won a ton. They made it to the playoffs in spite of the fact that they lost Deshaun Watson. And this year, now they have one of the toughest schedules in the league. They play in a brutal division. We understand that, but that team is built to win anywhere, on the road, cold weather. That team can win. That team can win anywhere. Again, if Deshaun Watson comes back, and if Deshaun Watson plays up to a Pro Bowl caliber level, that team can certainly contend for a Super Bowl. They can beat anybody anywhere. So that's a team that I would not want to see in the playoffs with a healthy Deshaun Watson. The Chargers have, I think, a guy one of the best coaches in football. Jim Harbaugh has done nothing but win everywhere he's gone. It does not take long for Jim Harbaugh to win. He normally wins right away. Last time he was in the NFL with San Francisco, the first year they were in the NFC Championship. The first year, he's taken over a similar team. I would say Deshaun Watson is a better quarterback than Alex Smith, to be honest with you. And I would say they had just the talent. That San Francisco team that Harbaugh took over. I think he took over for either Singletary or Tom Zula, one of those coaches. They had a bunch of talent, but were underachieving with the talent that they had with those two coaches. But it's similar in terms of the physicality and in terms of just the physical talent that Cleveland had versus the San Francisco team that he took over back in 2011. If you told me that Cleveland's in the AFC Championship, I'm not surprised. Excuse me. Either the Chargers are in the AFC Championship, I would not be surprised. You have the most important piece in football. They have in Justin Herbert, who is a top quarterback. I understand has not had the success as far as as a Joe Burrow or, of course, Patrick Mahomes. Nobody has, but Justin Herbert is an absolute top quarterback in this league. Like, anybody tells you ain't different, they're just not paying attention. Harbaugh is going to win the Chargers. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take. He is a great football coach. That's all there's to it. He again, you can say what you want about Harbaugh. You know, he rubs people the wrong way sometimes, but the man can coach football, pure and simple. So that team to me is a team to watch beyond the big three, beyond the Kansas Cities, the Cincinnati's, the Baltimore's, beyond those teams. Uh, the Browns and the Chargers are teams that you have to take notice of in a loaded and deep AFC conference. But again, I think ultimately, matter of fact, that would be my choice. That would be my pick for the AFC Championship. I think I will go out and reckon say versus Kansas City versus. I'm gonna take Kansas City versus the Chargers. That's my AFC Championship. Kansas City versus the Chargers. Either Kansas City versus the Chargers or Kansas City versus Cincinnati. It'll be one of those two matchups. I feel come in the AFC Championship in mid January. As far as real thoughts goes, listen, the Olympics did everything I think. Can't ask for more out of the Olympics. You get the all-time great performances out of Simone Biles. You got drama with the Dream Team, the USA men's basketball team, watching LeBron, Curry, and Kevin Durant in the twilight of their careers play at a high level, and be able to win a gold medal. You got the great performances in track, with got the great performances in track. I think the Olympics again. I think you got everything that you wanted out of these Olympics. I don't think you can ask for much more out of these particular Olympics. As far as the USA basketball, I want to say this, and again, I'm not trying to knock them, but can we stop with the comparisons between them and 1992? Can we stop comparing USA basketball teams to the Dream Team of 1992? That is one of the great teams ever assembled in the history of sports. They demolished everybody. They changed the course of basketball history. Okay. What you're seeing in the NBA right now with this explosion of European dominance and world dominance amongst the very best players in the world, whether it's Giannis, Jokic, and Luka, and what have you, that's because of the Dream Team. That team is one of the most impactful teams in the history of sports. They changed the sport. There was nothing this team could do. Like, this team could have been winning by an average of 80 points a game. They will not change the sport. So and again, I know content has to be created. I know we live in this debate culture, but it was like, oh, they're deeper than Dream Team 92, and trying to compare. Well, Dream Team 92 only played against this many pro players from Europe versus what 2024 play against. Stop. The game is different. Please stop. Stop with this comparison. It's a ridiculous comparison. This team almost lost to Serbia. Probably should have lost to Serbia, and was sweating bullets against France. They had no guards. Like, it's no comparison comparing this USA team to the original Dream Team. Forget about position by position. Just in terms of impact on basketball, this 2024 team does not have an impact on basketball moving forward. Again, that 92 team was one of the most impactful teams in, like, when you in the history of basketball. It was one of the most impactful team in the history of basketball as far as what it did for the game of basketball. You look at the NBA before 1992 versus the NBA after 1992. It completely changed the course of basketball forever. from an international standpoint. This team is not going. This 2024 team that won the gold medal is not going to have that. Not even going to have anywhere near close to that impact. So let's just stop with the comparisons. It's just ridiculous at this point. And y'all want to do that. You want to do that because you want to, again, you want to push the LeBron James GOAT, GOAT. You want to push that that narrative. That's the only reason why you're doing it. Why people are doing it. And again, that doesn't work either because I don't care that LeBron has won more gold medals than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan also never lost in Olympic competition, and he has only gold. He doesn't have a bronze medal. LeBron has a bronze medal. If you want to go that route in 2004, that was almost embarrassing losses in Olympic history in 2004, finishing with a bronze medal. So let's you want to keep it. Let's keep it PC. You want to go that route. Compare Olympic and compare, LeBron's Olympic status to Jordan's Olympic status. Jordan never lost in the Olympics. Never. Ever. Period. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great weekend. I will see you next time. So long.